You know how it is wearing platforms. We all know. All right, so let me get this up and going. Welcome to JFashion through different mediums. My name is JadedIsland. You can call me Jade throughout the weekend because that is my government name, but JadedIsland is also fine. Are my slides up? They shut down? Niff, we're having some technical difficulties. We need assistance at the front. They're not showing? Okay. I guess we're not ready to start, but we will be shortly. We're good? All right, let's try this one more time. This is JFashion through different mediums. My name is JadedIsland. You can call me Jade. My pronouns are she, they. And cue the next slide, please. All right, I am your local pink menace, pink energy queen. And I am doing a panel that is discussion-based. So if you want to share your story or answer the questions that I'm asking here, please feel free to do so. There is a microphone at the end of the stage, and for all the people who speak or share some stories while we're in this space, I have a lovely colored journal for you to take home and carry on the energy that we have in this space. What else do I have on here? Oh, right, my introduction. So like I said, I am from Maryland. I came all the way to Vegas, and I'm enjoying Sin City, and I hope you guys are as well. Thank you, Avina. Come on, guys, it's the opening panel. We gotta have more energy here. Thank you. All right, so I am an author, full-time writer. I'm also the founder of Kawaii Riot, and pretty much all I do is write and be a bookworm all day, every day. Next slide. So let's walk down memory lane. Who remembers their first coord? Okay, I'm seeing some hands. Good, good, good. Hopefully there were some smiles about remembering our first coords, or were there more cringing faces? Can't really see with the mask, but I will assume that your first coord might have been a little bit of a bumble like mine. So my first coord was for an event in DC, and I put on a fake fur coat, some Doc Martens. I had that like cringy pastel wig that looked like it was fresh from Party City. It was a hot mess. And I remember how fulfilling it felt to like dress in a way that felt more to who I am as a person, and I'm hoping that you guys had similar feelings. Does anybody want to tell me about their first coord by any chance? The microphone is at the front, so if you want to just raise your hand and come on up. I really do want to welcome your thoughts throughout this panel, so please don't feel shy. I'm shy up here, so we can be shy together. Avina, am I calling you to talk about your first coord? Oh, you can? Oh, let me come up. Kelsey will volunteer first. Thank you, assistant. So Kelsey, tell me about your first coord.
Okay, so my first coord that fit.
That's actually a good point. Up to you.
Okay, I will talk about the first dress I ever bought. So I got into Lolita in college, not in high school, and I got into it with the help of a very good friend, and she basically guided me through the waves of being an Ida. And she very much taught me where to buy from, where not to buy from, what accessories are good, what socks are good, how to wear my hair. And this was during the beginning of the natural hair movement. So that was also a big factor in how I wore Lolita too, because I wasn't ready for wigs. But the first dress I bought was a Dear Celine dress. I think it was called My Forest Friends from Glitzy Wonderland. And it did not fit. And I remember buying it, and and this is back when I was a 100-centimeter bust, and I think the dress was 98 centimeters. So 3 centimeters of just space that could not be filled by me. So I quickly ended up selling the dress, and I bought quickly after that, what was my second dress? Well, my second dress fit. That's the important part. But my first dress was a dress that, even though I couldn't keep it, and even though in my heart I wanted to wear it very badly, and this is before I knew about altering, and this was before altering was not less frowned upon. Everyone is very gung-ho about altering now, but back in the early 2010s, I think there was still a little bit of teeth sucking when you mention the word altering a dress. So it was a fun time. Even though it didn't fit, I learned a lot from that dress. I learned what my measurements were. I learned how to properly measure myself. I learned what my style was, because as soon as I got that dress in the mail, I learned I wasn't a sweet classic Lolita. I was very much a sweet, sweet Lolita. Blue sweet, but sweet, sweet. And the dress taught me a lot, and even though I don't have it, I still think of it very, very fondly. And I think even if we cringe at our first dress, I think some way it got us started. So I'm very happy that I took the path that I did. And yeah, that's my contribution.
Thank you, Kelsey. Anybody else want to tell me about their first coord? Yes, come up. The mic for you all is down there. And Kelsey, I'll give you a blue notebook since you are the blue to my pink. Thank you.
This one?
Yes, please introduce yourself. I can't see very well because of all the
Hi.
lights.
I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. Welcome.
My first coord was sort of a disaster. It made me not wear Lolita for 2 years after I wore it. I bought a dress on Lace Market that I thought was going to fit me. Super did not. I ordered custom-made pieces that I thought were going to fit me. Super did not, because I didn't know how to measure myself. And didn't have shoes, didn't have leg wear, didn't have a headpiece. I put it on still. I squeezed into it, but ooh, it was a train wreck.
How did you feel wearing it, though? Because this is your first coord ever. Do you remember those feelings?
Like a mixture of happiness and deep disappointment because nothing worked.
The disappointment I can definitely understand. Yeah. But it was your first coord, and now look at where you are. Your coordinate right now is lovely, and I'm so happy to see such beautiful people today. Thank you, Michelle. If you can come up here, if you don't mind, I will definitely give you a notebook. Do you have a color preference by any chance? Oh, perfect. It looks like you're wearing blue or a dark purple. The lights, guys, the light. Navy, then this will match your coordinate. Anybody else would like to come up and talk about their first coordinate? Yes, please come to the stage. Please introduce yourself as well.
Hi, my name's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
So 2011, 2012, I got into Lolita, and I was a junior or sophomore in high school, and I was like, Mom, these dresses are so cool. And she's like, they're so expensive. And this was before Taobao and lots of other things. And my mom loved to sew, but I had never sewn. And so this was our first sewing project together, and it is a mess. It's made of this Joann's cherry fabric that's just way too much, and it's made of itchy Rochelle lace, and it's a one piece that I don't fit anymore, but I keep it because it's very sentimental to me, because it was the thing that got me started in sewing, and I look terrible in my cosplay wig.
Yeah, those Party City wigs do not do us any favors. They take so much work to get looking nice. If you can come up front, I will definitely give you a journal. Thank you for sharing today. So the reason why I brought it up, our first chord, because we all have memories or sentiments that we tie with the very outfits that we create on a regular basis, the coordinates that we take the time to put together and share out in the world. And those feelings don't just sit with us, they also kind of trickle their way into our everyday lives. And if you could go to the next slide, let's talk about what happened next. So obviously we all have had our first chord. Did anybody find themselves using JFashion or Lolita in different ways outside of just dressing up for the day, maybe more into your lifestyle? You can definitely raise your hand if you think so, if you think the answer to that question is yes. I have one here, two there. Yes, yes, yes. Good. I found that with that first chord, besides these feelings of nervousness and joy at wearing something pastel and having fun with it, I felt kind of like a dream was coming true. I was making a dream into a reality, and I love that feeling. And ever since, I've been dressing in the way that I love, lots of pink, obviously, if you know me. But I enjoy it. I enjoy learning and coming to find out more about who I am and myself. So, let's talk about ways in which JFashion can trickle its way into our lives. So I just listed a few things that I think JFashion can kind of sprinkle its way into. If you see a hobby of yours that is potentially fashion influenced or inspired by your own personal style, raise your hand. I'm seeing, I think, almost everybody. Everyone has something on the list? Good. This is what I'm talking about with JFashion through different mediums. We have taken our style and started pushing it out into other aspects of our lives. Are there any other bloggers in the audience today, writers? Is it just me? Oh, Avina, thank God. Yeah, so for me, I found that my writing style had a complete shift when I started dressing more in JFashion. I started to write more visually instead of just taking my thoughts and putting them out on paper. I worked more with color, with feeling, with texture within my writing, and that was completely inspired by the fact I was wearing JFashion. I was dressing in my style, and I had new experiences and new emotions to pull from, and that encouraged me to write differently and to write in ways that explored what fashion and lifestyle were for me, especially as someone being a Black femme. And let's go through some of this list, not this next slide, go back, too early. So I know I'm a writer here, but does anybody want to talk about things that they've learned with JFashion through their personal hobbies? The microphone is once again at the front. Any D&D people here? Yes, bless. Did any of your D&D characters get some JFashion influence by any chance? Yes. Why don't you come up and tell me about your D&D character? Believe me, I'm full nerd, so I will be excited to hear about your D&D character.
Well, at one point I had a half-orc barbarian who loved fancy things. I actually tried to find as many, like on the Hero Forge site, tried to find as many things that were close enough to something that might vaguely resemble fashion when I was putting together her mini, but also not in the specific D&D system, but there was a friend of mine was doing a campaign that was kind of like a magical girls in space kind of thing, and so the character that I created, all of their attacks were Lolita print names.
That is perfect. Now I want to join in on your campaign. That's what the magic system is like.
I really want to get back to that one.
I love how creative magic systems can get. Please come up and grab a journal. I'm sorry that I'm not walking all the way down. Tired feet, what can I say? What color are you wearing today? I think this blue will be nice for the bottom of your dress. Thank you so much for sharing. I love D&D because anything that's creative and allowing you to create your own character, I think is very freeing, especially as someone who's a storyteller. Any other D&D people in the audience? I would love to. Oh, do you want to share something? Yeah, go ahead, step up. This is, we're sharing a space right now to talk about the ways that JFashion kind of influences other areas in our lives. Up, be careful.
Okay, so for me specifically, I study in college. I study a major that involves designing a lot of toys and products. So I found that a lot of the things I design, especially like dolls or superhero characters, action figures and things like that, are very heavily influenced by Lolita and also just different branches of like really colorful JFashion. So that's kind of how it's influenced me, especially. Like I do a lot of drawing, sewing, and sculpting for these kind of things as well. So yeah, that's how it's kind of leaked into everything else in my life.
That's actually a lot of fun. I definitely noticed more doll making into my social media feed because I feel like it really pulls in the fashion and the art visuals together for JFashion. And I love seeing doll making and any toys really that come out of the community. Did you have a social media page that shares your work by any chance?
I do. It's kind of more just a page where I post whatever. It's an Instagram page, just Cordelia LaBelle on Instagram.
Oh, sweet. I will do my best to. I don't even have a piece of paper with a pen for myself, but I will remember that because I love doll making and toys. Anybody else want to share about JFashion in other areas in their lives? If not, I'll just keep talking. Yes. Oh, Kelsey, come up. You're like right behind me.
So I am an artist, and my primary form of art is comics and webcomics. And I would say that the number one thing that JFashion taught me and that I use in my art is taking up space. And one thing you can't be afraid of in JFashion and you can't be afraid of in art is how much space you take up. Because it's important to put yourself out there and to put your work out there. So primarily when I am designing characters for my comics or I am designing outfits for stories, I find that JFashion helps me not just design Lolita characters, which I have Lolita characters, but design characters in general, making them more more lifelike, more larger than life, and not being afraid to have them take up space, not having a character that puts their hands behind their back or a character that like stands in like with their feet together and only their shoes pointing outwards. Like with JFashion, I make sure that the clothes and the character are easily read and digestible to the viewer. And I wouldn't have started doing that if I hadn't started really expressing myself through the fashion and looking at the fashion as an art form in and of itself. And that.
I, for one, can 100% vouch that Kelsey's characters are beautiful to look at, and their Instagram is @pastelkelsey if you're interested in seeing how JFashion takes place through their art and through their comic characters. All right. So there's a whole list of things here that which JFashion can influence. I found myself taking more interest in photography, for instance. I was someone who used to take selfies just like any regular person on Instagram back in, 2012, 2013, ages ago, a whole lifetime ago, many wigs ago, actually. And the more I dressed in this style, photography took more presence in my life, and now obviously I have a camera. I've upgraded since the selfie times, and I like the way JFashion, like Kelsey says, takes up space, and I model in a way that I like to kind of bring my storytelling into my photography, my personal narrative, and that is inspired by JFashion. I like the idea of color and how it plays and how we convey emotions and feelings. Everything. JFashion is super present in my life, even though it's in a way that probably isn't as common, but I'm grateful for it because it made me, I feel, a better artist and someone who kind of navigates the world a little bit differently. Anybody else want to talk about the way JFashion influences their lives? I actually really am curious because it's something that I've been kind of studying and taking note of in my personal work. You can come up to the front. If there's more than one person, just line up, I guess. Don't be shy, come up.
So one aspect of my life that was affected by me getting into JFashion was definitely it sparked my interest in makeup, because previously it wasn't something that I was completely into. But JFashion made me kind of see it as more of a artistic hobby rather than just something that's purely aesthetic. In that meaning, like the belief that you're trying to like impress someone with makeup, or it made it seem a lot less arbitrary. It made it seem like something that I could do just for funsies, and like it also kind of improved my overall kind of coordination whenever I dress up, because adding makeup is also kind of like its own accessory, so it was a fun hobby to pick up.
Yeah, I agree. I can definitely relate to makeup being a little more important over the past few years. I actually like the idea of the face being a canvas for expression, for more color, to tell a story. If you want to come up to grab a journal, that would be greatly appreciated. All right, who is next? Tell me your story. We're all sharing our hearts right now.
I'm actually an artist. I do a lot of like illustrations, character illustrations, and I realized back just when I was starting that Lolita helped me learn the color wheel better, learn like color sensibilities. It helped it click in my mind a lot faster than it would have if I think I just tried to study it. It kind of went both ways too. Like learning more character designs helped me be a little bit more daring in certain choices, and it's all just kind of fed into each other. My characters aren't necessarily Lolita related, but just the colors and being able to dress well really has helped.
Yeah, I like that. I like that as a fashion that we are very colorful and vibrant, and even on the darker sides, I just love how color plays into style. Although I'm known for my pastel waves, I actually really admire anything on the goth and like all black aesthetics, because it's kind of like sucking in, I guess, color energy in general, and I like how it stands out a little bit more than pastel. Honestly, I'm probably getting to the point where I'm a little pastel sick, because that's all I have in my closet. It might be time for me to switch it up a little bit. Also, thank you for speaking. You can come on up. What color are you wearing? I'm trying to match journals to colors. Pink. I think this is pink. All right, please share your story. Welcome.
So I know it's like a cringy thing to be, supposedly, but I was a Lolita at heart for ages before I started getting my own income as an adult, and I love the aesthetic, and I think before I was able to make my own money, the style was in my life in aspects that I could control without having my own income, like how I would decorate things and also my art and my characters. I also have an OG&D character.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So how long have you been in the style, if you don't mind me asking?
I've only actually been wearing it for about a year, but I've loved it for maybe like 10.
Yeah, I can feel that. My first experience of JFashion in general was back when I was in middle school, and it was through a documentary that aired at like 2 in the morning because I was doing a last-minute project, and it was on Gyaru, and I never found that documentary ever again, but that's what first sparked my interest in JFashion and alternative styles.
I think my introduction to Lolita was through a dress-up game on Dull Divine.
I love dress-up games. Anybody else play them as well? Anything where you dress up your character. We're all alike. Also, if you play Animal Crossing, feel free to add me later on. All right, thank you so much. You can come up for a journal. I think you're also wearing pink as well, right? We've got one last pink journal, so if you're wearing pink, you better come up soon. Oh, what color are you wearing? Green, I think is what I'm seeing. Thank you for sharing. Also, I like the proactive, get your journal. I like that. All right. So if no one else would like to share their story about JFashion in other ways, last minute questions and queries and stories, let us move on. So JFashion kind of expands in our lives, whether it is frivolous or not. It doesn't matter. It's about what we enjoy and what we cherish, what makes us feel good. One thing I will say that as a hobby, I guess, or a lifestyle, you don't actually have to do something to make money with it. So don't worry about monetizing a hobby. As long as you enjoy it, that's what counts. So let's talk about how JFashion kind of intersects into our everyday lives. And by that, I mean into our community. So, we're already, Kelsey, you're ahead of the game, wow. All right, so are anybody in the audience, I mean, I would assume so, that in any comms, local comms, little communities? Yes, raising some hands, yes. And when I say community, I don't necessarily mean a group of like 3 to 5 people. It could be a community of just 2 people. If you have someone that you share the style with or share the fashion with, that is community in my mind as well, because we're sharing a space, we're sharing a love of something, and that's important. And part of the reason why I brought up JFashion through different mediums is because as we learn about different ways that we explore the style and our fashion, there are going to be people who do it differently, who do it in ways that don't necessarily fit the norm, who don't look like what the standard is. And I want to speak on acceptance and being a little more open-minded. Obviously, that's kind of like what my day job is as your local Pink Menace. And I think community is important, but most importantly, I want JFashion as a whole to kind of grow and expand the way that we, in our personal lives, kind of like grew with the style and kind of expanded our interests. Is this making sense? It's kind of quiet in the audience right now, so. So, JFashion intersects in different ways, whether you are someone who is plus size in the community, whether you're a person of color, whether you're someone who's exploring the economic things within the community or social things. There's so many ways that JFashion will kind of wrap its way around in our lives. Is there anybody, for instance, who would like to talk about what JFashion community means to them? I have my own meaning, but I would love to hear what you all think as well. JFashion and community, your first community event. We're at an event right now. Are you at least enjoying Vegas right now, guys? Come on, don't leave me hanging. Go ahead, yeah.
Well, we're in the same group.
Oh,
but,
you know what? You're right. We are in the same group.
But my first meetup with DC Kawaii Style was at the aftermath of an anime convention, and we had gone to have sushi, and I saw how close-knit everyone was and how friendly everyone was, and it was a pretty diverse group, so I thought it was really cool that you guys like banded together and actually planned these meets and like went through all this effort to like welcome in new people. And at the time I was looking ridiculous. I was in a cosplay. I was literally a gray gremlin man amongst a bunch of beautiful people. It was really nice, and it definitely ultimately sparked my interest in actually joining into the fashion. So
Yeah, community is very important, and there are feelings within being in JFashion communities that I think are really nice to explore and to consider. Anybody else in a community that would like to share their story or their feelings about their first meet by any chance? Also, I'm loving the repeat speakers. You guys are my favorite for this event right now.
So I'm not a part of any comm, like except for recently I just had somebody at this place tell me, oh, join my comm. We're very close to each other. But the thing that came to mind with this question is at my school, I see JFashion a lot. Very rainbow colors, very diverse fashion, because I actually go to a fashion school. But I notice it's something that's very self-expressive for a lot of people, and that is kind of a general answer. But it's still very true. Like, JFashion is a thing that makes people kind of express themselves and just come together in a way. Because everybody at my school is just so happy generally being themselves, and it doesn't at all seem weird that I go to school like this whenever I can.
It's not weird to me. Thank you. Come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm from South Carolina, and this is my actually first big Lolita event ever.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I've been in it since, goodness, like 2012. And because somebody came to my job wearing Lolita, and I was like, I knew exactly what it was, and she told me about it. And my first meetup was in North Carolina. That was like years ago, but now it seems like I feel like I'm the only one that still does it, because everybody else has kind of like died out of it. With me personally, I don't want it to die out, and I want to experience more of it and go different places that actually has like bigger cons than us. So yeah.
Well, I look forward to seeing you at more events.
Yes,
Going up,
ma'am.
live or die Lolita. I love it. Kelsey. Oh my goodness. Yeah, community. I feel like some of my first impressions of community actually kind of grew when I went to Chicago. I met some of the JFashion folk up there. I'm guessing you guys know Kamila from Hard Decora. I mean, you better. Everyone should know who Kamila is. I met Kamila, I met Hayden, and I was so worried because I still consider myself new to the fashion in general, but I was like, am I going to be okay going to a community meetup in another state? Am I going to feel welcome? Am I going to feel comfortable? Because at the time, my only experience was at my home community in DC. But when I went up there, everyone was so welcoming and was so kind, and it was just nice to kind of like congregate with people who dressed like me, who knew about the lifestyle, who had similar feelings and experiences, and it ended up being one of the most beautiful times that I'd ever experienced when it came to going to something that was community-based. The last thing that I went to that was community involved probably was at college. So the fact that I was able to once again go out to an event and hang out with people who enjoyed being creative and loved similar things, it made my day, it made my whole world. And the fact that we can even come out here to Vegas, so I'm coming from Maryland, and the fact that I'm seeing people that I've technically never met in person, only on social media, and everyone's been very kind and welcoming, and that's important, that's community. But community isn't just in person, it's also online. So for those who have stories about online community spaces, this would be your time. Now, with the online community, I'm kind of iffy about it. It's like 50-50 for me. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. It could be better, it could be great. It's online, so everything is kind of tricky when it comes to the internet, and Instagram and Facebook are not always kind to people in alternative styles. So any experiences with the online community? I still find a lot of like good in it because I like congregating with people that like the same things, but just in case, anyone has to share a story about the online community spaces, especially for those who were around for LiveJournal, that would be your time. Yeah, I hear a lot about the LiveJournal days from my Lolita senpais, so.
I think I've kind of blocked out a lot of the LiveJournal.
It's probably for the best. It did not sound the greatest.
But this kind of ties in both with the previous question as well, because I'm from New Mexico, and our community is, for one, like very much overlapped with the cosplay community, but also very far flung around the state. So a lot of time, all we can really do is get together, is kind of coordinate things online. But this past year and a half, especially, with all of the virtual events and getting together for virtual tea parties, I've figured out how to basically host a cooking show on Twitch. And it's really neat to be able to connect with people through whatever means. And I joke about blocking it out, but I learned a lot in those LiveJournal days. And there was and some of it was what to avoid. But a lot of it was also, this is what you can do, and there is a community for this, and there is, I'm not the only one who's interested in this, and I'm not the only
I'm not the only plus size person who's having trouble finding things. And I think out of all that kind of grew the more availability of things, because people listened. If they were wise, they paid attention, and a lot of them did, which is why Meta is awesome. And and yeah, but in this past year and a half, like the Twitch chats for the virtual panels have just been a source of love and light and hilarity and awesomeness, and I'm really glad that we had that.
Yes, shout out to JFashion
So
On
glad
Demand.
for that. Yes.
I think the way the online community has also shifted over the course of the pandemic has been very fascinating to experience and watch, and the virtual events also been a really great way to connect with community, especially for those who are like a lot farther away. I see you're back again. Come up, speak up.
Most of my experience with Lolita has definitely been in person, but like what's been mentioned before, the pandemic has kind of pushed a lot of people to engage more online. I joined a few online communities, namely the Lolita Amino community and the Closet of Frills on Facebook. The latter I enjoyed quite a bit, even though I didn't really engage in it too much myself. I enjoyed seeing people's coords and seeing just people being super supportive of each other. There's shaky moments, of course, but overall, I think it was a positive experience. I did end up quitting the Amino community because I didn't really enjoy certain aspects of it. Namely, they had this kind of confessions segment every week that was a little less than friendly at times. So I just decided to move on to other stuff. And Tumblr has a fairly small but also very nice Lolita sewing community that I enjoy quite a bit.
Ah, Tumblr, the good old days before Yahoo bought it. I'm losing my time, Kelsey. I got to keep going forward. But yeah, so online communities. Another thing that I thought was interesting about the spaces in general, the ways that we connect through it too. So I learned about Discord through some of the JFashion communities. Obviously, I'm on Facebook as well, but Discord was new for me. Twitch was also new for me. Anybody on TikTok in the JFashion community here? Avina, I know you are. Anybody else exploring TikTok? You there? How's your experience been with TikTok so far? Yeah, unless you can yell, outdoor voices. Mm. No, that's completely fair. Making video content is very nerve-wracking, so TikTok is its own beast. But I want to leave enough time for questions, and I want to finish up. So I'm bringing back the idea of community in JFashion because we are still growing, we are still expanding, and as new people come in, as we explore new styles, for those of us who like to break the rules, it can be kind of overwhelming and nerve-wracking. And as we're growing, I want us to keep in mind that everyone is exploring at a different pace, and exploration looks different for everybody. I might be exploring through writing, Avina through art, Kelsey through their comic characters, whatever it may be. We are exploring at our own pace and for our own enjoyment. So community is important. Acceptance, being welcoming, being kind, being gentle to ourselves through this process, because not every coordinate is going to be perfect. I know that for sure. I've had some bad wig days. I've had my wig fall off in public. I'll never forget that ever. But whatever it is a part of our JFashion journey, and it is growing, it is expanding, and I'm excited to see where the community takes us as we go forward. So as I'm wrapping up, next slide, this ends with the mindset. For me, it's easy to talk about this topic because as someone who writes, I spend a lot of time with personal narratives, so I'm within my own headspace quite a lot. I'm an overthinker. You'll definitely get that if you talk to me more and more, but I found that through JFashion, my mindset kind of shifted. I viewed community different, I viewed art differently, I viewed a lot of things differently, and as I've been learning and unlearning, I found that there are ways that which fashion can do a lot more, whether that be inspiring some of our advocacy, for instance, or even how we interact with one another. I actually approach people differently since I've been in JFashion. I know now that I don't actually like when people come up and take random pictures of me, especially when you're in the public mall and the normies come up. That's annoying. I've learned a lot about that over the past few years. And so now I'm a lot kinder and a lot more conscious of how I approach people and how I have people within my spaces, and most importantly, establishing a brave space for folk who are differently abled, for instance. I hosted an event at my house for my birthday, for instance, and one of the things that I made sure to do was all the food was vegan friendly and also allergy friendly. I'm someone who has a lot of food allergies, and the fact that I took a lot of time to create the little allergy cards to say, hey, this is the ingredients that are in this dish. I wanted people who potentially might have had allergies like me to feel welcome and to feel safe in that space. And for those who like to host events, this is something to keep in mind as well. There's a lot of things that we can do that can be more inclusive and can be more welcoming and adapting as JFashion communities grow. So we have a few minutes left. I just want to know, anyone have any final thoughts that they would like to share before I go into Q&A? And Q&A, you can ask me anything. I'm pretty open. If you would like any final thoughts about how you felt about your JFashion mindset, for instance, this would be a good time to share it for a little bit, and then I'll jump right into questions for anybody who has any. Run up, I'm excited.
So, for my mindset, specifically just for Lolita mainly, I have a boyfriend who thinks it's kind of weird because it's really bright and colorful, and I really like that. He doesn't really like it, but who cares? So he asks me every once in a while, like, why do you like it so much? And usually I just say, well, it's really structured. Like, there's things that make sense. It's just like, oh, colors go with this, and I just really love how easily structured it is. You can't really just, I don't know exactly how to say it, but it's just really structured. It's just like, oh, A, B, and C, and then you put it on, and then you're good.
That's a good mindset to have, and that's very easy to follow, actually. I think it makes sense, especially for Lolita. I'm a little on the chaos side since I like decora. So whatever structure you find, it can be very fulfilling and very peaceful as well. Thank you for sharing. Did I give you a journal already? What color are you wearing? Bluish. Ooh, I don't think I have any more blue. Can I do red for your bag? I love your bag, by the way. Thank you for sharing. Come on up.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
What would you say is the easiest subset of Lolita that you enjoy wearing, and what is the hardest?
Oh boy, so I am infiltrating the Lolitas this weekend. Since that's my primary style. I really like sweet Lolita. For me, that might be the easiest because I have a lot of pink in my closet, so that's something that I can adapt to easily. The hardest would probably be OTT, anything of that genre. I really like the print style. Like, so for me, my personal JFashion dreams, I would love to do the print style as my Lolita style. I'm nowhere near that right now, but I can dream. I think that would be the hardest, is to go for that. Since you brought up the first question, this is also a great time for questions. You can ask me about anything, whether it be about JFashion blogging, writing. I am published. Some of my books are being sold in the vendor hall. It is Belladonna and My Grief and My Deity Named Pride, and they are poetry books, yes, but what I did differently in the first of its kind is I brought poetry to life through JFashion. So I have 3 sets of photo shoots in each book that are inspired by my poems specifically, and I explored Yamen Kawaii. I explored a little bit of the Gothic style, whatever it could be, and that was a chance for me to use my creativity and expression through fashion alongside my personal work. So, question time. This is the time to ask me anything or whatever you want to talk about. Feel free. Go ahead, yeah.
So this is a bit of a controversial question, I think, because I know that in Lolita there's kind of like standards for what is consistent with the fashion. But so I really like to wear this coord specifically with a pair of white Nikes, just because I think they look great and I think it's really comfortable too. I really don't like these shoes I'm wearing, but I kind of wonder what your opinion on that kind of thing might be, like bringing in things that are not traditionally formal or things that are not traditionally like JFashion or cute or something like that.
Yeah, this is actually a great question for me. Like I said, I am a pink menace. I don't care. I value comfort over anything, although I'm not comfortable right now with these shoes. But I like the idea of sneakers and Lolita, and there is a little bit of urban influence in some folk that I follow with their styles, and I like that idea of like kind of blending in different cultures and aesthetics within Lolita. Although it's not my primary style, one of the things that I like to do with my JFashion personally is bring in kind of like the business professional sort of look to it. You might have noticed I've been wearing glasses chains more frequently in my coords because I want my glasses to start to be a part of my style. I want it to be something that I can be flexible with. So if you like wearing sneakers with your dresses, then that's totally fine. I'm all for it. You're not gonna hear any complaint from me, that's for sure. If you're comfortable and you like it, then I say go for it. Although I'm not the expert in Lolita, would anybody else like to comment on it who's older in the style by any chance? Thank you, Avina. Avina said it's okay, so that's all we need to know. Any other questions? I've got a few more minutes, so I can take any questions. Don't be shy. I'm shy up here, so just please make me feel welcome. I came all this way. It's Vegas, guys, Sin City. We can ask anything. Go ahead. If you can yell, that's totally fine.
Yeah, I don't need a microphone. I'm kind of loud. You'll hear me. Do you go out pink in public, and how do you react when people stare? Angry, passive, or just you don't make it?
So my favorite thing about going out in public and something that's pink and bright in general, a lot of people perceive me as being younger than I am. So I turned 27 this past year, and I was wearing my giant button clips. And this older lady came up to me, she's like, oh, just so cute, like, what are you dressed up for? And I was like, oh, it's just my style, ma'am, thank you. And I think she was asking if I was in middle school or high school. I mean, y'all know, black don't crack. But I was just like, no, I'm 27, man. I'm a grown adult. I'm wearing these buttons because I want to wear these buttons. And every time I wear pink, I feel fine, comfortable in my style, but I know that it can be kind of alarming for those who aren't comfortable with dressing in a way that is vibrant and people who don't necessarily want that sort of attention. I do find that the kindest people in public to my style have been children. Kids are often really kind and they're very fun about my style, and I really appreciate that because they're uninfluenced by, society and everything that is negative about that. I'm sure we've all had some interesting public experiences. I will say that I don't like when people take my pictures without permission. That is very annoying. I've learned to be more aggressive about that now, and I try to set as many personal boundaries as I can when I go out in public. Although nowadays, I might switch it up and go out in a brown wig to be incognito. Any other questions? If you're someone who can yell, that's also totally fine. My hands and no questions? Don't leave me hanging, guys. You can ask me anything. It can be about writing, video work, Facebook, things like that. Avina, I'm sure you have a question that you could ask me. Come on now. Oh, yeah, another question? Go for it.
What's your origin story? Like, how did you get pink?
My origin story, so in 1994, when I was born, my mom chose a color for me. I have four younger siblings, so I'm the oldest of 5, and we each have our own color. My color was the gendered color. I was the firstborn daughter, and I got pink, but I love pink. Pink is something that means a lot to me, and so it's always been my favorite color, but I kind of avoided dressing within it for a very long time. I didn't start this fashion until after I graduated from college. So I've been in the style since 2018, late 2017. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna wear what I like and wear pink. And that's just been the energy that I have. It's pink energy 24/7. My house is pink now. My PJs are pink. Everything is pink. I saw a YouTube video with someone that I follow, and one of the things that they said was, if it's not pink, I'm not gonna buy it. And I actually really felt that. It stuck with me, and I liked that energy, so I've just kept it going as I've gone forward. It doesn't mean that I don't wear other colors. I just have a preference and always have something pink when I'm styling myself. Go ahead.
Hi, so I think the thing I've struggled most with wearing JFashion in public is not embarrassing the people I'm with, because I find that, I myself attract a lot of attention, and sometimes I know, I even if they're polite about it, like maybe my friends don't necessarily want that sort of attention, or my boyfriend, whoever. And they're really nice about it, but just me personally, I'm kind of like, oh God, I don't want to embarrass this person. So how do you deal with that?
I'm actually of two mindsets. The first mindset is, if there's someone who's constantly commenting on your look, then that might not be somebody who you necessarily want to be around. I think that surrounding yourself with people that accept you as you are is very important. And then the second mindset would be, there are ways to still feel cute and kawaii in a subdued way. I think my travel gear, I was just wearing a pastel tracksuit. I've been very inspired by my grandfather lately with the tracksuits. So having a subtle look that's still kawaii and still true to you is also a way to kind of work around that if you feel more comfortable doing that instead. Although, to be honest, first mindset is probably what I would answer with. If they don't like me as I am, then I don't need to surround myself with those people. And that's on being a Leo. All right, any other questions? Come on up. If you can yell, that's also fine. That is actually a really good question. As someone who was in the working poor for a very long time, I can appreciate a collector, but I do think that you should use what you have. But then again, as an adult with adult money, collecting is very fun. I would say the only thing that I actually collect currently would be anything in the Sanrio collection, Hello Kitty specifically. That's the only thing I've been collecting. But when it comes to my fashion, I am going to wear it if I bought it, as long as it fits, that is. Are there any other collectors in the audience by any chance? I know I said I was a Sanrio collector. Yes, my fellow collectors. I also collect virtually. I am a hoarder on Animal Crossings for some reason. I don't know what is wrong with me when it comes to that. All right, any other questions? Oh yeah, come up. No, not once. I am just ride or die pink for some reason. I did have a period where I was wearing black, but I love pink. It is my favorite color. Like, my room was pink before I started dressing in pink. So I've never had a moment where I've hated pink. I had a moment when I was dressing all in black for a long period of time, but outside of that, it's just been pink ever since I started dressing like this. That's a really good question, and I hope I never hate pink. That would be very unfortunate. All that money, sheesh. Question, I see. Yeah, I actually did a blog piece on this called the JFashion Blues, especially because of the pandemic. I didn't have the emotional energy to get dressed. I'm sure a lot of us felt that. When I do experience that phenomenon, I take it one day at a time. So for me, it might start like, I'm not feeling cute enough to wear this. So I'll just throw on my Pusheen slippers, for instance, just a little bit, just to dabble, just to trickle in, and slowly build yourself back up. I found that doing other aspects of like the JFashion or colorful lifestyle really encouraged me to continue to dress again. And one thing I definitely learned through the pandemic is that I don't necessarily have to get dressed to go to an event. I can just get dressed for myself and take a quick photo or whatever, just to enjoy it for me. And that's kind of like what JFashion mindset is, once again, is how you enjoy it. Any other questions? I'm sure I'm actually almost out of time. I don't see... We're overtime. Oh my God, Avina, you should have said something. Goodness gracious, it's your panel next. Well, anyway, thank you guys for coming through, and I hope you guys enjoy Vegas, and thank you for sharing this brave space with me. No, thank you. So how do I clean this up? I gotta run. Avina is next.